27, single mom, 2 little boys. Ooh, me? Never. Yeah, lots of tears, lots of heartbreak. Maybe you can relate. Come sit here. My name is Marianne, and today I'm going to tell you my story. I met my ex-husband when I was 17 years old. He was older than me, 6 years. He already had a law degree at university, and then he went to 2-year military service in South Africa. In those years, it was law that all the boys that finish school or university need to go to military for 2 years. In South Africa, they believe that will make men of them. In 1989, that law changed, and today that boys don't go to military anymore. But during his military years, he was with my brother, and my brother introduced us. And he asked me to be his girlfriend, and I said yes. And in my grade 12 year, or my matric year, this is in South Africa, the last year in your high school, he told me that I should stop playing hockey because he only saw me every third weekend, and then I was busy with hockey. There was no time for him. That was the first red flag. Guys, I stopped playing hockey, and I loved my hockey. And after school, he told me that I can't go to the university because we are going to get married eventually. I need to go and find a job, and I need to buy furniture. And I did it. I went to a pharmacy and I started working there, and I bought everything that we need. So the day that we got married, we had a dining room set, a living room set, bed, a bed and bed set, and TV, and we had everything, guys. A fridge, a freezer. And he was in that 2 years, he was doing his like a proof year. You need to do 2 years after you graduate, before the bar of law will accept you as a lawyer. So he was busy doing that and earning a little money. So that is why I needed to buy the furniture. At 20, he asked me to get engaged. We got engaged. At 21 was our wedding day on the 3rd of December 1989. On the way to my wedding, one of his senior partners was driving my wedding car. He stopped the car, he looked at me and said, "Marianne, you are a nice little girl. We can turn around if you want to." He didn't like my ex-husband, and I was devastated. I was on the way to church. How can this man ask me something like that? Maybe it was a warning from God. I didn't listen. When I was walking down that aisle, my ex-husband was standing in front of the pastor, and he went like this. Guys, his brother and friends gave him alcohol. In front of my family, his friends, and his co-workers. We got married in that church. At the reception, it was the speeches, and then we opened the dance. And then he forgot about me. I was sitting on that table crying. I was so sad. And my ex-husband was busy with one of his secretaries on the dance floor. She had a leopard skin tight little dress like a mini. She was married. Her husband was sitting in the corner, and he was so sad like me. I remember her name was Corey, and his name was Tommy. And guys, all of his co-workers asked me if I'm pregnant. They didn't know I existed for 4 years. That evening, I drove him 50 kilometers to some place that someone booked for us at a dam or a chalet. In a chalet, I had this beautiful silver going away dress. And I had to picking up and drag him all the way in there, and he passed out. And I was sitting on this bed, and I was bawling and crying, and all that I could see was this butt um, poo that was coming out of the ceilings, and this mouse poo that laying on the ground. And I don't even want to know what was in that bed. But yeah, that was our wedding night. Now you will ask me, Marianne, why didn't you leave? I don't know. I don't know why I didn't leave. Okay, but this is how our marriage started. And then he started with, I'm too fat. I weighed 57 kilograms. I was always on some diet. And guys, I learned to undereat. And when you undereat, you gain weight because your body is storing all this food that it gets into fat because he knows you are starving him. So today I'm still struggling with that. When I came out in the morning and I feel so pretty with my little red dress, no, take it off. It doesn't fit you. I wasn't allowed to wear makeup. I wasn't allowed to put lipstick on. I wasn't allowed to color my hair, cut my hair. I wasn't allowed to put nails on my fingers. And I didn't know it was emotional abuse. I didn't know. And my mom told me one day that he stole my laugh. I wasn't this little girl that was always laughing. It stopped. But yeah, at 23, I got pregnant with my first little boy, and I was working in a pharmacy. One day, the phone rang, and I answered, and it was this random lady, and she told me that I must open my eyes because my husband's got an affair with one of his secretaries. And it wasn't the same lady. This was a different one. I broke down and cried. My boss took me into his office and explained that we are this young couple and we are making name in this town. People will be jealous. I need to calm down. Half an hour later, my cousin phones me and she tells me, are you getting a divorce? What? No, her sister-in-law is living next to this secretary's mum and she's busy making her a wedding dress, my ex-husband, and she's going to get married. Guys, I'm a Cancer. I'm an emotional person. I broke down in tears. And my boss sent me home and he found my ex-husband and he said he need to come and explain because I'm an emotional wreck and it's not good for that little baby. Guys, he came home and he explained that it was a work function and they had too much to drink that night and she seduced him and stuff happened. He's so sorry. It will never ever happen again. Please don't tell my mom. Please don't tell my dad. Please, Marianne, please don't tell your parents. Please, please forgive me. It will never ever 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 happen again. Guys, I stayed. But he took me to Sun City that weekend and then I got Bell's palsy in my face. This side stood like this. My mouth was like this. And then I went to saw a doctor and he told me if I came a day later, that my face would have been like that permanently. My little boy is born and still today, if he's tired, he's got this one little eye that's like this. And I still believe it's from that stress and all that things that he had to went through with me during that time. So he took me to Switzerland, in Italy, in Germany, in Singapore, Malaysia to say sorry. And after that holiday, he took me to Mauritius to say sorry again. So guys, I believed him. But I was breastfeeding at this stage and the nurse told me that when you breastfeed that you will not get pregnant during when you breastfeed. But I got pregnant with my second little boy. And yeah, the marriage carried on. Weekends he disappears and phone is off because he needs to go with the men because that's good for our business. It's golf trips and it's bike trips and deep sea fishing and stuff like that. And one weekend his grandmother got very sick and his mom was trying to get hold of him. Phone off again, he's gone again. And yeah, his grandma unfortunately passed away that weekend, and his mom was so furious with him, so angry. And when he got home that Sunday night, she was waiting for him. And then he explained to her, he didn't need to explain nothing to her or to me, because we are divorced for 3 months now. Guys, I was thinking I'm married, but I was already divorced for 3 months. And the next day, we went on holiday with friends. We went to Cape Town for the August bicycle tour. We did a bicycle tour. And from there, we went to Ugrabis waterfalls, and we have river rafting. And all the time, he's so mean to me. And he's putting me down in front of our friends the whole time. And I can't tell them, but he's doing it because we are divorced. I was crying the whole time. I was such a mess. And after that, I found my parents, and my mom and dad said, that's enough. Come home. And I took my 2 little boys, and I stayed with mom and dad for 2 weeks, and my brother phoned, and he told me that he bought a little farm in Bloemfontein, a vegetable farm. I must come and live with him, and then we can build me a little house, and mom and dad will eventually sell everything, and then they will come here. We were a close little family. I went to Bloemfontein, and my sister-in-law didn't like me, but I can't blame her. She was 6 months pregnant with her first kid, and now I'm invading her home with 2 little kids. She was a teacher, and in the afternoon when she got home, she just went straight through the home, and she banged her bedroom door, and you didn't see it till tomorrow again. Guys, she didn't like me. She made me feel so unwelcome. And I prayed and I cried and my heart was broken. And I only got 40,000 rand from my ex-husband. And he paid me off. So I took the first 5,000 that he gave me. I bought myself a vegetable peeling machine, a vegetable cutter. And then I started this vegetable processing business. If I stayed with my brother 20 kilometers out of Bloemfontein, and I went and worked in the pharmacy again, my salary won't even cover the fuel for me to went to work back in each day. It wouldn't, there was nothing left to live on. So I need to make another plan. So I started this vegetable cutting business. And on Saturdays, I sold it at the Boere market. And I got 2 supermarkets that support me. And then my brother convinced my dad to sell everything and buy a little piece of land. This little piece of land had nothing on it. And it sold that house, and he got a little pension. And yeah, they lived with me in my little house at my brother. I built me a small house with second-hand doors and windows and bricks and lots of tears. Yeah, and mom and dad come stayed with me till we built that house on this side. The house was half built with cement floors, no ceilings, and it was winter, and my brother told us that he was in financial difficulties and we need to leave now because he's going to lose his farm. The bank is going to take it back. Guys, it's winter. No tile floors, no ceilings, no cupboards in the kitchen, nothing. And my dad didn't tell my mom, but he paid my brother's bills that was behind. So now mom and dad, there's no money anymore. I was so sad. I felt so guilty because if I didn't got a divorce, my mom and dad won't be in this situation. And I don't know who I hated the most. my brother, or this ex-husband of mine. I was so angry. My dad didn't speak to my brother for 2 years. We sold vegetables on the Boer market, and we tried to survive. Second-hand ceilings, second-hand wood to build the kitchen cupboards, second-hand wood planks, second-hand tiles. And yeah, that is how we finished mom and dad's home. I lived in their living room for 3 years with my two little boys. And at that stage, remember MTN and Vodacom, and everyone was just giving people credit cards. So guys, I had free. And with that free credit cards, I built my vegetable processing building. And I started building a new house for me and my two little boys. Again, with second-hand windows, doors, with rocks that was laying on the farm. And I remember crying, me and two farm workers crying. Then one will, May, please don't cry like that. The Lord will provide for you. And here I am, the Lord is still providing for me. Guys, and yeah, I built a second little house, and I was proud of myself, and life was starting to get better again. But in 2010, there's a new manager at my two supermarkets, and he just decided he doesn't want my vegetables anymore. And gone is my income. What must I do now? So what did I do? I went under deep review. It was the saddest day of my life. But for 6 months, I didn't have a choice. I sold on Saturday my vegetables. I went to YouTube, how to paint. I bought corrugated sheets, cut it in pieces, paint little houses and landscapes with me and my house will serve the Lord. Sold things like that. But I survived. And then after 6 months, there's another supermarkets in Bloemfontein. The owner phoned me and said, you must come and see me. And yeah, from 2011 till now, 2026, I'm still doing those two supermarkets vegetables. Fresh vegetables that they cook every day in the deli. And that is my income. Saturdays at the Boeremark. I do art that I never knew I could do. And that is my story. So if you fell 8 times, you must get up 9. If you fell 9 times, you must get up 10 times. Never, ever give up. The saddest thing for me from my whole story is Christmases. You know, my baby is now 32 and the other one is 34. I had him for one Christmas, one. In all this time, from they were 4 years old. My ex-husband always wangled it like in Christmas time, it's a big holiday in Mozambique or Sun City or somewhere nice, Namibia. And if I said no, I'm going to be the pig in this little story. So I always let them go. And today, they still think they need to be with their dad for Christmas. Because that is how it was always. And I'm still sitting here, Christmas, all alone. I stayed with my mom and dad for all these years because I felt that I was responsible. And mom passed away 9 years ago. Dad passed away 3 years ago. It was very sad for me. I inherited with my two brothers the farm. I inherited my own piece of land. I'm debt free. I'm stronger than I used to be. And that is what I want to tell you today. We all got stories, and we all got our own stories to tell. And we all want to know why. Why this happened to me? Why me? But you know what? It makes you a stronger, better person. And at the end of the day, you can sit here like me and you can inspire people and you can tell them it will be okay. Someday it will be okay. So like my video so that other ladies can see it. And remember, you are enough, and always, always look above. And please subscribe for my next video. I'm going to make a video of my home for you so that you can see this is the third house that I built myself with 2 farm workers. And I will show you my little place of peace. Please subscribe and I'll see you in the next one.